to wealth, social standing and authority of others. Understanding the actual nature of the contaminated psychophysical aggregates and how these four kinds of misconceptions regarding them create suffering makes us wish to free ourselves from cyclic existence. When we then consider the situation of others, which essentially is like our own, we will feel compassion, if a sense of closeness with them has been established. Development of this compassion gives rise to the aspiration to attain enlightenment for the sake of others. A profound personal recognition of the unsatisfactoriness of cyclic existence forms the basis for this, otherwise we will not empathize with them nor wish to help them. If becoming a Buddha allows us to help living beings in the most effective ways, what is a Buddha like? The fifth chapter describes a Buddha's compassionate and powerful activity, whose wellspring is perfect knowledge. Every action is an expression of compassion. An enlightened being's power is so great that even the word, Buddha, can ward off death in that it implants a seed for the attainment of liberation from the cycle of involuntary birth and death. The Buddha Sakyamuni's silence in the face of certain questions shows his consummate skill resulting from omniscience, rather than demonstrating his lack of omniscience. A Buddha is thus the embodiment of perfected compassion, power and wisdom.
The quality of one's mind and motivation is crucial in determining the value of actions. Bodhisattvas control their minds so effectively that they never do anything harmful. Through the power of their conventional altruistic intention to attain enlightenment for the good of all others, actions which would normally be harmful are transmuted and become constructive and beneficial. The merit of bodhisattvas who have developed the ultimate altruistic intention and attained the first bodhisattva ground is then discussed. The fifth chapter thus first describes enlightenment, mainly in terms of enlightened activity. Then, to encourage us to attain that state and to develop a profound appreciation of bodhisattvas, it describes the transformative effects of the altruistic intention.
Implementing this intention through actions which benefit others requires imagination and sensitivity toward their needs and capacities. Bodhisattvas use others' natural affinities and interests as a means of gradually leading them toward an understanding of reality. The more obstinate and confused they are, the greater the bodhisattva's compassion. Bodhisattvas do not hesitate to assume whatever role or relationship allows them to help most effectively, since this is their only concern. There is nobody with whom experienced bodhisattvas cannot communicate constructively. This places a great responsibility on them, which they should never neglect. How can we fail to admire and appreciate them, when we realize their true qualities? Not to do so and to feel hostility toward them is a grave error. A bodhisattva's training consists of practicing the 6 perfections and the 4 ways of gaining others' trust in order to help them. Practice of the perfections creates the 2 great stores of merit and insight which give rise to the wisdom and form bodies of a Buddha. Aryadeva then discusses the merit created by giving, the first of the perfections. We should not be daunted by the magnitude of the Mahayana perspective nor by the profundity of its teaching, but should understand that perfect enlightenment is possible, since exceptional causes yield exceptional results.
However, while we are dominated and troubled by disturbing emotions, it is not possible to accomplish our own good, let alone others. In the 6th chapter, Aryadeva identifies these disturbing emotions which interfere with a bodhisattva's practice. He also describes how bodhisattvas treat those who are affected by these turbulent emotions. Unless we recognize these states of mind clearly, we will be unable to get rid of them. Mortification of the body cannot free us from them or from the contaminated actions instigated by them, for they are rooted in the mind. It is therefore vital to understand particularly how the 3 main disturbing emotions, desire, anger and confusion, operate and what their effects are. Our inability to recognize the suffering they cause when we are overwhelmed by them is, in fact, the greatest suffering, for it robs us of the incentive to get rid of them.
Since anger and desire require their own specific antidotes, students dominated by either must be treated accordingly. Moreover, confusion, anger and desire predominate at different times of the day. If we understand what stimulates them, we will be better prepared to counteract them. Desire is extremely difficult to overcome, because initially it seems agreeable. This blinds us to its disastrous effects. Deeply ingrained habitual desire is much more difficult to counter than desire stimulated by a particular circumstance, for the latter can be dealt with by avoiding the stimulus. The destructive force of hatred and anger is far easier to recognize. At the root of all negative emotions lies confusion, which can only be eliminated by understanding dependent arising. Eradicating confusion uproots the other disturbing attitudes and emotions as well. Bodhisattvas must recognize behavior that indicates someone in whom desire, for instance, is predominant and should know how to help such a person. The destructiveness of anger and its inappropriateness as a response to harm inflicted by others are then examined. Such harm is the result of our own previous and negative actions. By experiencing the fruit of those actions, their momentum comes to an end, while retaliating simply creates more negative karma. None of the reasons put forward to justify an angry response to real or imagined injuries are valid. Understanding the enormous benefits of patience helps us to overcome anger, for patience and tolerance give rise to many remarkable accomplishments.
While it is important to apply the different techniques described to overcome manifest forms of these disturbing emotions, we must endeavor to gain a correct understanding of reality, for only this will allow us to eliminate them completely. The 6th chapter thus clearly describes how and why we should rid ourselves of the disturbing emotions and help others to do so too, for these emotions act as the source of our continued rebirth within cyclic existence. The 7th chapter explains that the unbroken cycle of involuntary births and deaths is caused by actions based upon these disturbing emotions. Cyclic existence is fraught with suffering. Though temporarily we may be reassured by our youth does not last long. Soon we will be compelled to take another rebirth over which we have no control, since it is determined by past actions. Countless lives have been thus wasted, but at present we have a rare opportunity to break this cycle. If the right conditions are assembled, we can certainly end our cyclic existence, but in the case of someone for whom they are not assembled, no such end can be foreseen. We should therefore recognize how difficult it is for the necessary teaching, a competent exponent and a recipient with the prerequisite qualities to come together at the same time.
Since contaminated actions are responsible for our continued rebirths, we must stop performing them, but our blindness to the horror of cyclic existence prevents us from doing this. In striving for a desired result, we do much that is negative, and that inevitably brings suffering. No matter how much energy we invest, we can never be certain our actions will yield the fruit we wish. What we do achieve perishes of its own accord and is impermanent. Then why do we waste so much effort? Even good rebirths are unsatisfactory, because they too entail suffering, and it is a mistake to perform positive actions out of attachment to the pleasure, prosperity, and authority one hopes to experience in them, for attachment will eventually bring suffering. Renunciation, not the acquisition of such pleasures and prosperity, is what brings true and lasting happiness. Only by seeing the illusory nature of the world and of the pleasures it offers can we free ourselves from suffering and attain the highest state of freedom. The 8th chapter provides advice on how to make the student's mind ready for instruction concerning the fundamental nature of all phenomena. When the identity and causes of disturbing emotions are examined, it becomes evident that the mind can be purified of them, and that we are not forced to continue taking involuntary rebirths under their influence. The fact that most people have not got rid of them is due to their lack of interest. Whether we attain liberation or remain caught in the cycle of birth and death depends on whether or not we gain a correct understanding of reality. Even a doubt which tends in the right direction causes the fabric of cyclic existence to begin disintegrating. Fear of emptiness and prejudice make us cling to our habits and are obstacles to the attainment of liberation. Only a sense of strong antipathy to the process in which we are trapped can act as the necessary spur to attaining freedom.